you ever hear Mr. Jackson or anyone else ask Mr. Shabazz to put away the nightstick?
No.
How are third parties reacting to the presence and the actions of the Panther members?
People were put off when, there were a couple of people that walked up, a couple of people that drove up, and they would come to a screeching halt because, it's not something you expect to see in front of a polling place. As I was standing on the corner, I had two older ladies and an older gentleman stop right next to me, ask what was going on. I said, truthfully, we don't really know. All we know is there's two Black Panthers here. And the lady said, well, we'll just come back. And so they walked away. I didn't see anybody other than them leave, but I did see those three.
You saw the comments made in the video by Malik Zulu Shabazz about skinheads in the area, people from the Aryan Nation and Nazis. Did you see any members of those organizations there?
Absolutely not.
And again, this is an open area, correct?
Indeed. And we were the first ones on the scene. There were no one there but them when we got there.
And did any of the Panther members say that they had seen Nazis or Aryans or skinheads?
No, I never heard that until I saw that particular clip.
Did you talk to the police?
Other
than calling in them?
I did not.
Did you talk to anybody from the Department of Justice?
A couple hours later, two female attorneys met us in a parking lot, as Mike said, and we got in the car with them and they asked us what happened. They took notes, and then we went on our way because we were responding to polling places all day long, so,
Did you get a copy of the statement?
No, I did not, but once again, I didn't ask for one either, so.
Were you ever asked to testify at a hearing or a trial?
No, I was deposed. I mean, DOJ came to my house, met me in a coffee shop in Philadelphia twice, took a statement. The first time I gave them a handwritten, typed statement. The second time they came back with a statement, asked me to read over it and sign it, that it was as I had related.
Did you keep a copy of either statement?
I did not.
Both you and Mr. Morrow mentioned that you were accompanied by a third individual. Do you know who that person was?
He was another attorney from New York. I don't remember his name, though.
With regard to the woman in the video, standing, that Mr. Morrow testified about, did you have any interaction with her?
I did not. When I went through into the polling place itself, she was coming around the side, so that's when she's making the phone call. And all I heard her say was, the white guys in suits are trying to stop people from voting, or something to that effect. I was a little incredulous by that, but I was concerned about our poll watcher inside, so I didn't bother with it.
Was she there the whole time that you were there?
She was.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to switch to Mr. Bull.
Please proceed.
Again, Mr. Bull, roughly the same questions, but if you could tell us your name and profession first.
Thank you. My name is Bartle Bull. I'm a retired lawyer. I'm a former publisher of the Village Voice in New York. I've written for all 5 New York newspapers and for many magazines. And I have 6 books that are out now. So at the present time, I'm a full-time writer, but a former lawyer.
Could you detail for the Commission your experience in civil rights matters and politics?
Yes, sir. Briefly, I've done it all my life as a Democrat. In 1956, I was a freshman at Harvard College where I coordinated students for Adlai Stevenson. Then in 1968, I was Robert Kennedy's New York State campaign manager when he ran for president of the country. The following year or two, in the early 70s, I went down to Mississippi and worked in the campaign to elect Charles Evers as governor of Mississippi. I ran security and poll watching in his home county of Fayette, in towns like Red Lick, Mississippi, and Midnight, Mississippi, where I saw nooses hung over the branches of trees. 1972, I was chairman in New York State of Democrats from Governor Shriver. In 1976, I was Jimmy Carter's New York State campaign manager. In 1980, I was chairman of New York Democrats for Edward Kennedy when he ran for president. And I did the same thing in campaigns for Mario Cuomo, Hugh Carey. I also worked for Ramsey Clark when he ran for the Senate. And I worked in campaigns in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, South Carolina, where I worked against Strom Thurmond, also in Florida and in Mississippi. So I've done this all my life, always unpaid as a volunteer, and often organizing poll watchers.
Now, you're in Philadelphia on Election Day 2008. Why are you there?
Well, I had been serving in New York State my second Republican candidate, as chairman of Democrats from McCain in New York State. I knew we were going to lose New York. I thought perhaps I could help in Philadelphia. So I took the train down there at 5 in the morning and spent the day there troubleshooting on Election Day for the McCain campaign.
And did there come a time that you went to the Fairmont Street polling place?
Yes, I did. I was in a car driven by a young volunteer with another volunteer from New York, and we were receiving cell phone messages saying that in many, many polling places there was intimidation, not so much of voters, Mr. Melendez, but intimidation of poll watchers, a very important point, sir, if I may say. And that was what was going on. Our poll watchers were driven out of the polls in 5 or 6 places I went to. And while we were examining those situations, we got a call on the radio, on the cell phone, excuse me, saying that at Fairmount Street there were 2 Black Panthers intimidating voters and poll watchers, as you just heard. So we drove there, and there indeed we saw the 2 Black Panthers blocking the door to a polling place, one of them armed with a weapon. I may say, in my many years as a civil rights lawyer, I didn't mention that, you asked me that question, I'm sorry. I also worked for a group called the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law in Mississippi in 1966. I took my summer vacation as a lawyer, went down to Hattiesburg and other towns in Mississippi and worked as a civil rights lawyer there. And even there, I never saw armed people blocking the doors to a polling place.
When you arrived at the Fairmont Street location, what did you actually see?
Well, these 2 gentlemen, I believe, were there already. They were a bit off to one side from the entrance. There were 2 Black Panthers. One of them was armed, standing very close to each other, directly blocking the door to the polling places. One of them was waving a baton like that, slapping against his hand, pointing at people, and several people, I was more or less at the end of the driveway, and several people began to walk up the driveway, saw these guys, and then went back and didn't go on to vote.
The individuals that you saw turn around, those were people that you believed were coming to vote?
Oh yes, that's the only reason they should walk along that long block on the pavement, then go in the long driveway. And several walked in, saw this at the door, and walked back out the drive.
Can you identify the individual, the Black Panthers that were there that day?
I will try to. Yes, sir. The second row, the 3rd gentleman in, he was the one with the baton, with the weapon, the club in his hand.
Did either of those members make any comments while you were there?
Yes, sir. After the police arrived, and did not take the club away, by the way, and they asked the gentleman with the club to get away from the polling place. And as he walked by me, I was standing by a car at the end of the driveway with my 2 companions. He pointed the billy club at me and said, "Now you will see what it means to be ruled by the black man, Cracker." And the reason I recall that very well is because it struck me as ironic that, having worked as a civil rights lawyer, having been threatened in Mississippi, I was now being threatened in this way here, and being called a cracker, frankly.
How long were you at the polling place?
About 45 minutes, maybe.
Okay. And the whole time that you were there, did you see either of the Panther members separate from each other?
No, only when they left. Only on leaving.
Up to that point in time, though, they stayed in front of the polling
Oh, they were
place?
shoulder to shoulder. They were clearly, they had this paramilitary presentation.
Other than the mention that you indicated that you saw some voters turn away, was that a single incident, or did you see it multiple times, or?
No more than 2 or 3 times, I would say.
Did you talk to the Republican poll watchers inside the polling place?
No, I didn't have access to the polling place.
Again, the same question that I've asked the others. Did you see any skinheads or Aryans or Nazi members during the time you were in the polling place?
Absolutely not, and no reference to any such thing.
And did you hear any of the Panther members make any reference to Nazis or Aryan?
Absolutely not.
Did you talk to anybody from the Department of Justice?
Not on that occasion, not that day, but some weeks later, I received a call in New York from the Department of Justice saying, would I be prepared to sign an affidavit to what I have just told you? And I said, yes, provided you guys don't drop the lawsuit. And they said, well, we should warn you that this is a dangerous group. They injured several New York policemen at a rally in New York. And I said, I don't care about that. I will do this as long as you continue with the lawsuit. That's why I was so shocked when it was dropped, frankly.